September means 7th, but it is the 9th month of the year. October means 8th, but it is the 10th month of the year. November means 9th, and December means 10th. Every single one of these names is wrong. You learned these words before you could read. You have used them every day of your life. They are not slightly off, not debatable, not open to interpretation. September is the 9th month, but its Latin root means 7. October is the 10th month, but octo means 8. September are the Latin words for 7, 8, 9, 10. Those names belong to a calendar that no longer exists. Someone added months to the beginning of a year and pushed everything forward. That edit happened roughly 2,700 years ago, and we are still living inside it. That is not even the strange part of the story. The strange part is what was there before the edit, what was removed, and who benefits from you never asking about it. There are 13 full moons in a solar year. Not 12, 13. The lunar cycle, new moon to new moon, takes approximately 29 and a half days. Multiply that by 12 and you get 354 days. You're 11 days short of a year. But multiply 28 by 13 and you get 364. 1 day short. One single day that ancient cultures handle with festival. A day outside of time. A reset before the new year began. The math is cleaner with 13. It has always been cleaner with 13. And humanity knew this for thousands of years before anyone intervened. In 1960, a Belgian archaeologist named Jehielin made a discovery on the shores of Lake Edward. The site sits on the border between Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The object was small, the Shango bone, a baboon fibula roughly the size of a pencil with a sharp piece of quartz fixed to one end. Carved into its surface are 3 rows of grouped notches. It has been dated to approximately 20,000 years ago. That makes it one of the oldest mathematical artifacts ever found. Harvard archaeologist Alexander Marzhack put the bone under a microscope and concluded the notches correspond to lunar cycles, 6 months of them. Ethnomathematician Claudia Zlavsky went further. She proposed the bone's creator was likely a woman tracking her menstrual cycle against the phases of the moon. The average menstrual cycle is 29.3 days. The lunar cycle is 29.5. In dozens of languages, the words for month and moon share the same root. The Gaelic words for menstruation and calculation are identical. Myosak and Mosakin. The Romans literally called the measurement of time menstruation. This was not a metaphor. It was a description. Humanity's first act of counting may have been a woman watching the moon and marking the days between bleedings 13 times a year. For 20,000 years or more, that was how humans understood time. Not because someone told them to, because the sky told them to. Then Rome happened. The earliest Roman calendar attributed to Romulus around 738 BC had only 10 months, 304 days. The year started in March and ended in December. Winter was simply uncounted, a blank space on the calendar when nothing officially happened. Around 713 BC, the Rome's second king, Numa Pompilius, decided to fill that gap. He added 2 new months, January and February, to the calendar. To get enough days, he shortened the existing 30-day months to 29. February was left with 28 because it was the month given over to the infernal gods. Even the Romans considered it cursed. But here is what matters about Numa's reform. He did not just add months. He created a system where the timing of additional months called intercalations was controlled exclusively by a board of priests called the pontifices. Their decisions about when to add time were kept secret, and Roman politicians quickly realized something. If you control the calendar, you control power. A consul could extend his own term by persuading the pontifices to add an intercalary month, or shorten a rival's term by having them skip one. Calendar manipulation became so corrupt that by the 1st century BC, the Roman calendar was 3 full months out of alignment with the seasons. Harvest festivals happened before crops were taken in. Julius Caesar had to add 90 extra days to a single year, 46 BC, just to reset the system. He called it the last year confusion. But the confusion was not an accident. It was a residue of centuries of institutional calendar control. And the 12-month structure that emerged from Caesar's reform became a foundation we still use today. Nobody voted on it. Nobody studied alternatives. A dictator imposed it, and the world inherited it. Now, the fair counterargument. The Gregorian calendar, the one you are using right now, is genuinely more accurate for tracking the solar year than anything that came before it. The Julian calendar drifted about one day every 128 years. The Gregorian system introduced by Pope Gregory the 13th in 1582 corrected that drift by adjusting the leap year rules. It works astronomically. It is elegant. I'm not arguing it fails at what it does. I'm asking a different question. Who decided that solar accuracy should override lunar alignment? Who decided that the relationship between humans and the moon, the oldest timekeeping relationship in human history, should be sacrificed for a system that serves institutions rather than biology? Because the Gregorian reform was not neutral, it was a deletion. On October 4th, 1582, people in Catholic Europe went to bed on a Thursday. They woke up on Friday, October 15th. 10 days erased, not gradually phased out, not adjusted over years, removed overnight by papal decree. Pope Gregory chose October specifically because it contained the fewest major Christian holidays. Workers did not know if they would be paid for the missing days. Contracts scheduled between October 5th and October 14th suddenly referenced dates that had never existed, and the Vatican's response was simple. Those days were never real. Protestant countries refused to comply. England held out until 1752, 170 years later, when Parliament finally adopted the Gregorian calendar. September 2nd was followed by September 14th. The change affected wages, rent, military discharges, and prison sentences. Accounts from the period describe public outrage. The famous cry, "Give us back our 11 days," may be partly mythologized, but the sentiment was real. People understood instinctively that when someone edits your calendar, they are editing something more fundamental than dates. They are editing your experience of reality itself. If time can be rewritten by decree, what else can be? And yet, what happened next is the part almost nobody talks about. In 1902, a British railway accountant named Moses Cotsworth proposed something radical, a calendar with 13 months. Each month exactly 28 days. Every date falling on the same weekday, every year. The first of every month, always a Sunday. The extra month placed between June and July would be called Sol. One additional day at year's end called Year Day would sit outside any month or week. A global holiday belonging to no one. Cotsworth was not a mystic. He was an accountant driven mad by a specific problem. Monthly financial reports at his railroad company were meaningless because months had different numbers of days and different distributions of weekdays. A hotel doing $10,000 per week in room sales would show lower revenue in May than April. Not because business declined, because May had fewer weekends that year. Think about what that means for every salaried worker alive today. You earn the same monthly paycheck, whether the month has 28 days or 31. That is a 10% swing in your daily rate of pay, and it always favors the employer. Your landlord charges identical rent for February and for March despite March having 3 extra days. Quarterly financial comparisons are unreliable because quarters range from 90 to 92 days. The entire global economy runs on a unit of measurement, the month that has no fixed size. We would never tolerate this in any other domain. Imagine a kilogram that weighed something different each time you place it on a scale. That is what a month does to money. Cotsworth saw this clearly, and he wanted to fix it. His proposal gained powerful allies. George Eastman, founder of the Eastman Kodak Company, became obsessed with the idea. In 1928, Eastman adopted the 13-month calendar for Kodak's internal operations. Every financial period equal, every comparison clean, every payday predictable. Kodak employees carried pocket calendars with 13 months. Boardrooms displayed the fixed calendar on their walls. The system worked so well that Kodak used it for 61 years until 1989, 57 years after Eastman's death. A Fortune 500 company ran on 13 months for more than half a century, and it worked better than 12. Eastman did not stop at Kodak. He and Cotsworth wrote to more than 1,000 businesses. They opened the International Fixed Calendar League, headquartered at Kodak's offices in Rochester, New York. Sir Sanford Fleming, the man who invented standard time zones, became its first president. The League of Nations reviewed 130 calendar proposals from around the world. They ranked Cotsworth's 13-month system as the best. It went to a vote, and religious leaders organized to destroy it. Rabbi Joseph Herz argued that year day, which belonged to no week, would create an 8-day week once per year. This would disrupt the perpetual 7-day Sabbath cycle. The opposition was fierce, coordinated, and effective. The proposal failed. After Eastman died in 1932, the League of Nations continued discussing reform, but could not reach consensus. Then came Hitler. Then came World War II. The League dissolved. No international body has seriously considered calendar reform since. 13 months came within one vote of becoming the global standard. Then it was buried, not by logic, not by evidence, by institutional resistance from organizations whose authority is structured around the calendar as it exists. I want to be honest about something. I sat with this research for a long time before writing. The reason is simple. The mainstream explanation for why we use 12 months is not stupid. Solar calendars are more practical for agriculture in many climates. The Gregorian system does not require constant adjustment the way lunar solar calendars do. If you need to know when a plant crops at a specific latitude, the sun matters more than the moon. I understand why solar calendars won. What I cannot explain is why 13 had to become feared in the process. The word triskaidekaphobia, fear the number 13, was first documented in 1910. But scholars who have searched for ancient evidence of 13 being considered unlucky have found none. The association with the Last Supper, 13 people at the table, appears to be a medieval invention. The Norse myth about Loki as the 13th guest at a banquet does not appear in the original source text the way it is commonly told. Buildings skip the 13th floor. Airlines skip row 13. Streets in London, including Fleet Street, Park Lane, and Oxford Street, have no number 13. In 1882, a Civil War veteran named William Fowler founded the 13 Club in New York City. 13 members met on the 13th of every month in room 13 of the Nicara cottage. They walked under ladders. They mocked the superstition. The inaugural dinner was at 8:13 p.m. on Friday, January 13th, 1882. The cruel irony is that the club's publicity may have spread the very fear it tried to debunk. But where did the fear originate? One theory connects it directly to calendars. 12 is considered complete. 12 months, 12 hours, 12 zodiac signs, 12 apostles. 13 breaks the pattern. 13 suggests something was supposed to be there, that someone removed. You do not fear a number without a reason. You fear it because somewhere deep in cultural memory, 13 represented something that had to be suppressed. And here is what keeps pulling me back. Ethiopia still uses 13 months right now today. 12 months of 30 days, each plus a 13th month, called Pagim 5 days long. 6 in Alipia. Their system derives from the ancient Coptic calendar, which traces to Egypt. Their tourism slogan is, and I'm not making this up, 13 months of sunshine. Over 120 million people live on a 13-month calendar. Their leap year system is simpler than ours. Their months are uniform. Their year starts in September, which under their reckoning actually makes sense. They never adopted the Gregorian system. They were never colonized into it, and their calendar works. It has worked for centuries. When travelers land in Addis Ababa, their phones adjust the date automatically. The shift is disorienting. You step off a plane, and you are suddenly 7 or 8 years younger. Not because Ethiopia miscounted, because they started from a different calculation of the same event and never let anyone overwrite their math. Ethiopia is not behind. Ethiopia refused to delete what we deleted. Think about what you were taught. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31, except February. You needed a nursery rhyme to remember your own calendar. That should tell you something. A system designed for human use would not require a poem to decode. No child struggles to understand 13*28. Any child can grasp that. But 30, 31, 28, sometimes 29, that requires memorization. It requires a rhyme. It requires faith in a structure that resists intuition. Kodak proved equal months' work. The League of Nations ranked them best. Ethiopia runs on them today. The Ashango bone suggests humans counted in 13s for 20,000 years before anyone intervened. Your body still counts in cycles of roughly 28 days. The moon still completes 13 cycles every year. The biology has not changed. The astronomy has not changed. Only the calendar changed. And every time someone tried to change it back, the proposal was killed, not by science, not by popular demand, by institutions whose power depends on controlling how we measure time. I find myself thinking about the pontifices, Rome's calendar priests, keeping their intercalation decisions secret, using time itself as a lever of political control. That was 2,700 years ago. The mechanisms have changed. The principle has not. Whoever controls the calendar controls what feels normal. And once something feels normal, no one questions it. We cannot name our months correctly. We cannot remember how many days they contain. We carry a nursery rhyme in our heads because the system is too irrational to memorize on its own. And we never ask why. That 20,000-year-old bone sits in a museum in Brussels. Its notches still line up with the moon. The sky still counts to 13. The only question is why we stopped.